Welcome back. Today we're talking about Baldur's Gate 3 on Steam Deck. I did a video on this months and months ago, and the game's coming up to a year in August, so I thought now would be the prime time to come back to it because I've been playing it in my downtime. Specifically, I've made it to Act 3 where everyone was complaining about the frame rate and the issues involved in it, and so I've gone back and I've put in over 140 hours and I'm working my way through Act 3, and you can see in the footage behind me, so everything you see is from my current game, and there's going to be a mixture of footage here, but primarily there's not going to be a frame rate, and the reason for that is I don't think you need to have it on. You should just enjoy the game for what it is, and so I've decided not to worry about putting in frame rate, and you decide if you think that's playable. I am using cryo utilities here, and this is on an LCD model. I am getting an OLED. I know somehow I managed to save some money and get an OLED, and that's in the mail hopefully today, so hopefully I'll have an unboxing video for that in the coming weeks. But back to Baldur's Gate 3, I've got my little party here. I'm playing as a paladin, and then I've got Shadowheart, of course, as my cleric. I then have Gale as my evocation wizard, because you've got to have a wizard in a D&D party. And finally, I have got, what's the name here? I'm having a blank. Karlach, of course, the barbarian. So it's a good mix of a party here. We've got a paladin, a cleric, a wizard, and a barbarian. I think it's a pretty good party, and I've been loving every bit of it, and so I just wanted to talk to you guys about it and my thoughts on Baldur's Gate 3. I've played all 140 plus hours on the Steam Deck. I've not played any of this on my PC, and I think it's definitely a great way to play it. It's not the best way to play it, but it's definitely playable, and I don't regret my decision of playing it on Steam Deck, especially with these settings. And the game's had numerous updates to the point where it runs pretty well. Once they added FSR 2, the game became a lot more viable on Steam Deck. I think FSR 1 was definitely not a great time. I ended up just playing the game with no upscaling because it just looked like a blurry mess. FSR 2 is good. I'm hoping to see. I'd love for them to add like the the Intel XeSS version. I find that's usually a little bit heavier, but it upscales, I think, a lot better. I'd love for them to have stuff like that, but at this point, a year in, and with no major DLC, I can't see that, unfortunately. So basically what we get now is, I think, the end of the road in terms of optimization. And I'm going to be honest, like Act 3, once I got there, and Act 2, to that point, especially when there's going to be spoilers, there's mist in that in Act 2. The game did chug at points, and in the city it does chug. But as you're watching this footage behind me, it must look pretty playable, and it is playable. I find that as a D&D player, Baldur's Gate 3 really fills that itch extremely well. I mean extremely well. Like, I'm enjoying this way more than I should. I've been playing D&D for probably 15 years. Started with 3.5. And then at the launch of 4th edition, we switched over to Pathfinder, and we played that for ages. And then 5th edition D&D came out, and we were a bit hesitant as a group, but we took the plunge, and we swapped over to 5th edition and have been playing that ever since. Side note, not talking about Baldur's Gate 3, I'm actually in the middle of prepping our next campaign, which is Shackled City, which is an old school campaign that was in dungeon magazines, and this was being about 2002. So I found a conversion kit online on the DM's Guild website and printed that out. So I've got a full conversion of Shackled City from 3.5 to 5th edition, and so I'm going to run that for me and my friends, and I'm quite looking forward to it. Jumping back to Baldur's Gate 3, the story has been pretty good. I find the companion stuff okay. I love the game, but I don't know why, but the praise seems way higher than it should be. Like, I'm really enjoying it. Don't get me wrong, but this isn't Mass Effect or I don't know, or even Cyberpunk. I find like Shadowheart is my go-to girl, but I don't think she is. There's that many conversations that I have with her that are deep and meaningful. You know what I mean? Like, I just killed, spoilers, everybody in the Temple of Shah because you have the choice of handing Shadowheart over because she turned against Shah, or you murder them all. So I had to murder them all. But there was never straight after that fight. It wasn't like I had a conversation with Shadowheart about it. I don't know, like, maybe I've missed, maybe it's back at camp and not in the dungeon. Like, I'm still exploring the Shadowheart, the Shah Temple right now. But maybe if I go back to camp, she'll have something to say about it and prove me wrong instantly in this video. That's okay. Combats can be long and drawn out, and I think that's just a side effect of it being D&D. And even, playing D&D, combats can go for a good an hour or so if you're doing a big boss fight. I find another nitpick, but I don't see another way around it, is short rests and long rests at camp. Unless you're making a very linear game with set points for short rests and long rests, players abuse that. And supposedly, if you take long rests often, you'll miss content. I don't know if there's a way to track that, or if it's just for side quests. I'm not 100% sure, so I haven't looked into it too far, but that's supposedly a thing. The main story, so spoilers, I gotta keep saying that because I don't want you to, I don't want to spoil it, but I want to talk about it. You find the Elder Brain at the end of Act 2 after you kill one of the Dead 3. And that's all really cool, and now you're in the city, and the brain's breaking free from the crown that the Dead 3 had put on it. And I think that's a really cool story beat. Again, I feel like they introduced these bad guys just too late. While you have the underflow of the Absolute, I feel like maybe they should have had these bad guys showing up a little bit earlier, or you do the Final Fantasy thing and cut to the bad guys' story beat, even though your characters aren't aware of it, just to give, some more context to what's going on. I'm not I want to be a game maker eventually. I've downloaded Unity, but I don't know whether that was a conscious decision to not have that shown. But then in Chapter 3, there is more of that. I'm not sure, how that all works. But let's get on to, I'm kind of going to jump around here, so I'm sorry if you don't enjoy this, but I don't really write scripts. I just, blurt out what I think while I'm playing. This is pre-recorded with footage. I can't play and do talking at the same time. It just becomes me being very monotone and uninteresting. And so, I think Baldur's Gate 3 has definitely got merit, and it definitely should have won some awards like it did last year. It is a really good game with a ton of content, and it works brilliantly on a handheld. I have a feeling maybe it comes to Switch too. That could be kind of cool, because Steam Deck's great, but a really optimized handheld version would be fantastic. But while the story's great and some of the side stuff's cool, this game hasn't caught me quite as hard as I would have liked in terms of the nuanced stuff, like side quests and that. I would say Witcher 3 or Final Fantasy Rebirth, Remake, Mass Effect, still hold more for me. Maybe it's more of a, I don't know how to put it. Maybe it's because they're older and I grew up with those, so they hold more to me, where this story is new but doesn't really, I don't know. Like, the story's fine, but it definitely hasn't grabbed me in quite the same way as, say, Skyrim or Oblivion or Fallout 4 for that case. I can't talk about Starfield because I haven't played it. I play a lot of RPGs. I'm a big RPG fan, but this one's just not holding me as, like, I'm loving it. Like I said, I put 140 hours in, so it must be doing something right. But it's not holding me as tight as I would like. In terms of the main story, just isn't as interesting to me as it should be. And then performance-wise on Steam Deck, it's playable, as you're watching here in Act 3. Okay, so that was basically what this video was to show some Act 3, give my thoughts on the game almost a year later, and say that it's worthwhile. Like, while I'm nitpicking, 140 hours shows that I'm enjoying it. But in saying I've played 140 hours in, I want it to be over, and that's because I want to move on to other games. And the problem is I can't. I've got to keep doing all the side content before I finish the main game. And you might say, well, why don't you just finish it? But because once I finish this game, I won't touch it again. This is one and done for me. I don't think I could go. I don't think I have the time to then replay this game for a second or third run with a different character. I would love to play back through this as a bard or a wizard or a druid or whatever. I don't think I could. If it's going to take me 150 hours to finish this game, doing it again, while it might be faster, it's still potentially another 80 hours where I could have played through something new or something else. So for me, I don't think I could play through it again. So my goal is to do all of the content, well, as much as I can, without having to play it again. And I'll probably come back to it in the future, but for now, like, that's enough. Anyway, that's my, thoughts on Baldur's Gate 3 in 2024. It's great, and you should play it. Performance-wise on Steam Deck, it's fine. The OLED, it probably runs better. Cryo Utilities does fix up some of the hitching that you do see in Act 3 a wee bit, because I did start Act 3 without Cryo Utilities, and then I added it in later, and it seems to have made a marked improvements in the speed in which characters' faces will load in at higher detail. Because I was finding for a wee bit there, if I'm running around the city and then click on somebody, their face would be a bit blotchy until it loaded into full memory, where Cryo Utilities has fixed that. But also, I'll put the graphics in here at some point. I don't have things set to low. I want this game to look good, and so I'm taking a frame rate hit to have it look nicer. And where a lot of people will probably put everything on low just to get that locked frame rate, I'm going the opposite route here, because this game isn't fast paced, so I don't see why I need to forego some of the nicer animations and textures. Again, that's something you'll have to decide when you go to play. And I just want to say thank you for watching. Go play Baldur's Gate 3, and I will see you in the next video. Catch yous later, guys.